I want to stick with this Vinicius point for a minute, just because obviously Real Madrid were very poor. I was watching the coverage on Sky Italia where they've got Pili Costacurta, Fabio Capello, all the old guys, as some people would put it, and they're being grumpy old men. Yeah. And Capello's talking about my day, we had we had players with big personalities and veteran leadership, and he was criticizing them defensively, and that was missing. And I thought to myself, yeah, I don't buy that. Because I don't think you need to be a veteran to be a leader and to have those. Well, first of all, I mean, Real Madrid, obviously they've got a lot of young players, but you still had Kroos out there. You still had Nacho out there. You had Rudiger. You had Modric coming on. So you have that. You have that. Carvajal, right? So I don't think that's the issue. But also, I don't think you necessarily need the experience and leadership to be a good leader, to make good decisions, right? Jude Bellingham is still a kid. Yeah. But he rarely makes bad decisions, although we'll get to the decision he made, which cost him a 2-game ban in a minute. I mean, just philosophically, do you think that having that personality, that leadership experience, no doubt helps, but this is not Real Madrid's problem, is it?
Definitely not. I disagree with that, and I don't know what experience would have changed. If you had an older player somewhere, in midfield maybe, because Tchouaméni, Camavinga are young, but you've got Kroos behind. So your front three, Valverde, Bellingham, and Vinicius. Vinicius has been in this game long enough, and so is
Valverde.
And so is Valverde.
So is Bellingham.
Yeah, so I don't buy it at all. I just think that it was one of those games where the way Leipzig played, but we said it from the day of the draw, this was a tricky tie for them, because the way Leipzig play with all that intensity, the 4-2-2-2 is a tricky, I think, system to play against at times. And for that team, that is not really good at pressing and not really good being press resistant, despite the players that they have, this is not really a good opponent for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's feast or famine against a Leipzig team like this, because when they come out with that intensity, with that Marco Rose kind of central press, you either pass the ball around them, and I mean, I presume this is why he played Valverde with Vinicius, thinking like I'd exploit the wide areas, and then you score early, they keep coming at you, and you go and you muller them, as we've seen City do in the past, or otherwise it's a pretty long, nasty, unpleasant evening, which is what it was. Yeah. On Vinicius, the referee, Massa, it was Italian, chose to give a yellow. I think people would say it was a common sense decision, but I think people in Leipzig, however many fans they have, they do have some, not many, would have said, wait a minute, this is a Bernabeu hometown call.
It felt like a big club refereeing
against a little club, right? It's his shoes 100%. On the other foot.
Yeah,
if that's Orban putting his hands.
Yeah,
this is Orban shoving like shoving Vinicius to the ground, and then putting his hands around him. Orban
that's what happened. It's always been like this. It will always be like this. The bigger clubs. We had, remember the PSG Rennes game. The Rennes manager Julien Stéphan said exactly the same after the PSG got that very, very generous penalty, and he said, "This is what."
Oh, the Asensio dive.
The Gonzalo Ramos dive, And he said that's what big teams get that. They've always did. They will always do.
All right. Does this leave any kind of lasting damage or fallout in La Liga?
I don't think so.
To use a Spanish term, I Liga.
Yeah, but I was thinking yesterday watching the game. They have those days. Is it because La Liga, the level of La Liga this season hasn't been that great? So they haven't really been tested. You've said it before, you've made a really good point before about the lack of intensity in La Liga. So playing against a team like Leipzig, they don't know. Because this season, not many teams in La Liga would have played like that. Even with I'm not even talking the same formation or the same system, but just in terms of intensity and pressing and man-marking at time in some areas of the pitch, nobody. So Girona is your closest rival really for the title. You won 4-0 and 3-0. Okay, the 3-0 result was maybe not as telling as the score itself. But so this is it. And I did wonder yesterday that maybe this season has been so cruise control for them in the league, very much. Okay, the Clásico for an hour, Barca were maybe the better team, but they still went there and won. So I did wonder in those kind of top games in the Champions League if that could be an issue.
Yeah, I also just remind ourselves, no Alaba, no Eder
of
Militao.
course.
No, just in games like
And they've
these,
played a lot recently too.
Alaba Militao, in games like these, Openda does not get away from them as easily as he gets away from Nacho and Rudiger.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
they have different qualities.
Yeah,
right? On the Bellingham issue, just first about the ban. We said what we said on Monday, and ultimately, you got to play the whistle. You could have handled it differently, the referee, but the reality is he told you after the corner kick, and I think we both said on Monday, and I still believe this, that if he just blows his whistle when Mamardashvili punches it away, then there's no issue here.
Yeah, he waited 2 seconds too long, but yeah.
That said, if Bellingham really said what he claims to have said, and nobody said, no, you said something else. If you simply said, it's an effing goal,
Yeah,
I have a problem with him being
Me
banned
too.
for 2 games.
me too. Completely. Me too. Because, I mean, for all we know, he could have said freaking, for
Well, he
example.
didn't, but
No, but like you said it sometimes, and
Right.
not the real F word, the referee would have had no idea. And as you don't insult the referee, you almost swear to yourself
Yeah.
by talking out loud.
it's foul language, but it's not abusive language.
Exactly, it's not
foul
directed at
and
the
abusive
referee.
language. And as I understand the laws of the game, for you to be sent off, it has to be foul and abusive language.
Yeah.
Was his demeanor particularly aggressive? I don't think so. He's walking. He's like 10 meters away from him. It's not like he's trying to attack the referee. So yeah, I don't think the red card should necessarily be rescinded, but it shouldn't be a 2-game ban.
Could they appeal that though, and it would reduce to 1 game?
I genuinely don't know at this stage. I would assume they can. I assume that you've got a procedure in place where you can appeal it.
Because remember the Greenwood one was obviously once they appeal.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I think it's heat of the moment. It's not attacking the referee.
yeah,
It's attacking a decision. On the Ancelotti stuff, there's legal implications. Do you want me to handle this?
just tell me. So many people have been caught now. Clearly, why? All right, for the right reason or not. Some have paid off. Some okay. Why is it still happening? Surely now you know that if you don't follow every single rule with you and your accountant and your lawyers and all of that we love so much, because if you don't, you're gonna get caught. Everybody's been done before.
Everybody's faced this, from Rafa Nadal to Cristiano Ronaldo to
Neymar.
Carlos Puyol to Neymar to Xabi Alonso, who's fighting it. So first of all, times have changed. The Ancelotti charges date from when he was Real Madrid manager the first time. So it's 2014 and 2015. Essentially, the accusation is, and there's probably some truth in it, which is, oh, look, wealthy people who could afford fancy accountants, with some of their earnings offshore, they can kind of game the system by setting up shell companies and companies within companies and stuff like that. Look, you and I both live in London, right?
Yeah.
This is the place which invented it and raised it to an art form. We are surrounded by rich people who evade taxes because they do business beyond these shores,
Yeah.
right? On the other hand, there's the reality that I'm pretty sure Cristiano Ronaldo does not sit there with a calculator, puts his glasses on and starts doing his taxes himself.
No.
You go and you pay somebody who says, this is legal, this is not legal.
Yeah.
So let's do this, and this is how you can mitigate it, right? And then it gets into a long, boring tax discussion. In this case, what I think is worth mentioning is this concerns earnings on image rights. As you know, when you're employed by Real Madrid, you split the image rights 50-50 with the clubs. And it concerns the 2014 tax year and the 2015 tax year. Ancelotti, in the original, because this trial is an appeal. These are additional charges. Not additional charges. This is kind of like they're appealing against the decision. In the first trial, Ancelotti paid a fine. The judge was happy with it. The prosecutor was not happy, so the prosecutor appealed against it.
Yeah.
And it all hinges, this is on the 2015 tax year, where Ancelotti says, I was not resident in Madrid. And because obviously that was a season that he was sacked, and the season ends in June. To be resident or late May, to be resident in a country, most places you have to spend 183 days. I can't believe I'm talking about this boring tax stuff. But you have to reside there for 6 months plus 1 day.
Yeah.
They're arguing that he was resident there because of the lease on his house. He's arguing, look, I may have leased the apartment, but it's not like I can lease the apartment and just kind of like check out and say, I'm not paying you the last 23 days.
Yeah.
I was sacked. I left the country. I was not physically in the country. I don't think it's very difficult for him to prove whether he was in the country or not. I'm assuming, he didn't just get in his Seat and drive
or
out.
walk all the way to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. He said he didn't walk to Canada. I think we can exclude that. Or stow away in a boat. So we'll see where this goes.
It's just another layer, isn't it? I mean, not that he has to worry because the season is going well, but it's a key moment of the season. You don't want to be...
You don't want this additional distraction if you're Real Madrid. But going forward, when we look at this, the percentage game is coming. What percentage? I presume you give them 80 or 90% in La Liga at this stage.
Yeah. More than that.
In the Champions League, are they your second favorites, or just because they're Real Madrid?
They are my second favorite, but not on their own. I've got Inter on the same page, on the same level, and then not really far behind. I still believe in Tuchel and Bayern. And then my boys are somewhere around,
And you haven't even mentioned Arsenal.
Not yet, no. They're not qualified. What do you want me to do?
By the way, I love the fact that we all talk about, are they your second favorites and so on. We haven't even mentioned who our first favorites are. We'll leave it to you, dear viewer, to guess who we think, on paper, the favorites are.